Welcome to this Access Anatomy screencast from the University of Leeds that's going to outline the pancreas and duodenum. So let's start by drawing out the pancreas. And here we can see we have the pancreas, we can see we have various parts. We've got the uncinate process, we've got the head of the pancreas, we've got the neck, body and tail. The pancreas is completely retroperitoneal except for its tail, which has a peritoneal ligament attached to it. It passes through the splenorenal ligament, which we'll discuss later on. The head of the pancreas is sitting within the concavity of the duodenum. Remember, the duodenum is the first part of the small intestines. So here we can see the C-shaped duodenum with the head of the pancreas filling this concavity. And we have the first, second, third and fourth part of the duodenum. And also running through the pancreas is going to be an important duct. This is known as the main pancreatic duct that passes through the pancreas and eventually opens up into the duodenum. We also have an accessory pancreatic duct that passes more superiorly and also passes into the duodenum. So here we have the main pancreatic duct, and here we have the minor or the accessory pancreatic duct. What these do is they drain into the duodenum, specifically the second part of the duodenum, via either the main or the minor duodenal papilla. And specifically, if we were to remember the biliary system, then here we can see coming from the liver, we have the hepatic ducts. We can see here and here. These converge into the common hepatic duct. The common hepatic duct receives from its right-hand side the cystic duct. So here we can see the cystic duct coming from the gallbladder to form the bile duct. Remember, the bile duct is running within the free edge of the lesser omentum as part of the portal triad. It then passes posterior to the duodenum, and it then runs posterior to the head of the pancreas, where it unites with the main pancreatic duct. So here we can see it running and uniting with the main pancreatic duct here. Here it forms the ampulla, the hepatopancreatic ampulla, which is going to open up into the second part of the duodenum. And this way, both bile and pancreatic juice can pass into the duodenum. If we move over to the left upper quadrant of the abdomen, then we can locate the spleen with these various indentations on its anterior edge, characteristic of the spleen. The spleen is also sitting against a whole series of ribs, sitting against ribs 9, which we can see here, 10, and 11. And this means the spleen is vulnerable to rupture if any one of these three ribs was damaged. So it's tucked against ribs 9, 10 and 11 in the left upper quadrant of the abdomen. Because the spleen is a reservoir of blood, allowing blood to be released with a substantial hemorrhage, then damage to these ribs could penetrate the pulp of the spleen and allow it to bleed out quite significantly. So here we can see spleen sitting against ribs 9, 10 and 11. We can also see on this visceral surface that there's a series of areas where the spleen sits against the stomach. This is known as the gastric area. Where it sits against the kidney, this is known as the renal area. And where it sits against the splenic flexure of the colon, this is the colic area. We then have this region in the middle here, and that is known as the renal hilum, where the splenic artery enters and the splenic vein leaves the spleen. So let's draw in the splenic artery. Here we can see the splenic artery passing towards the spleen, and here we can see it along here. And then also passing away from the spleen are we going to have the splenic vein, and here we can see the branches coming away from the splenic vein. And this region here is going to be the splenic hilum, or the hilum of the spleen. If we then follow the splenic vein, we can see it here. It eventually passes underneath the pancreas, and we can pick it up here with these blue dotted lines indicating the splenic vein here is passing deep to the pancreas. And then we can also pass to the uncinate process of the pancreas, where we can see lying anterior to the uncinate process is going to be the superior mesenteric vein. So here we can see lying anterior to the uncinate process, we have the superior splenic vein. We can see lying alongside the splenic vein, the superior mesenteric vein, we have the superior mesenteric artery. So here we have the superior mesenteric artery, and here we have the superior mesenteric vein. Remembering that the superior mesenteric vein is always located to the right of the superior mesenteric artery. The superior mesenteric vein, superior mesenteric artery. Both these blood vessels then pass posterior to the neck, and I just want to concentrate on the superior mesenteric vein because here, posterior to the neck of the pancreas, the splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein unite. And when they unite, they then form the hepatic portal vein. This carries on posterior to the neck, it then runs posterior to the duodenum, where we then find it running alongside the bile duct as part of the portal triad. And here we have the portal vein. So the superior mesenteric vein and the splenic vein unite posterior to the neck of the pancreas, and there we have the portal vein formed. The inferior mesenteric vein, that actually passes into the splenic vein. So here we can see we've got the inferior mesenteric vein, and this is draining the hindgut. Sometimes the inferior mesenteric vein will actually pass into the superior mesenteric vein, but in the large proportion of cases, it actually drains into the splenic. So here we can see, associated with the pancreas, we have the formation of the portal vein. The final detail I just want to add is that ligament I spoke about earlier. Now we have the pancreas, which is mostly retroperitoneal, except for the tail of the pancreas, which is carrying these blood vessels alongside the splenorenal ligament. So here we have the splenorenal ligament. And this ligament is connecting the spleen to the posterior abdominal wall in line with the kidney. That's where the renal portion comes from. And running within this ligament is the tail of the pancreas and these two blood vessels. You should be familiar that this ligament then passes around the spleen, and from the spleen it then connects to the stomach as the gastrosplenic ligament. Remember, that's part of your greater omentum. So hopefully this video has helped highlight the main anatomical features and relations of the pancreas and spleen.